school principal is in a secret relationship with the janitor. Whoa! I screamed as I felt my heart leap out of my body, just as I slipped and touched the ground. Oh my goodness! Jake, the school janitor, yelled from a distance and ran toward me. I felt so embarrassed, sitting on my butt on the wet floor he just cleaned. Oh my God, I said as I struggled to help myself up. Just as I was about to hit the ground again, Jake caught me like I made a dip in a salsa dance. How did you get here, you might ask? Well, some minutes ago, I was trying to finish up some paperwork that had just been piling up for a while. It's not been easy being a principal. I was at it when I heard Jake whistling past my office, and the song was one by my favorite artiste. The artiste, John Echo, is an underrated one, so I somehow couldn't believe I could hear it from someone else. I just had to stand up and go meet him. I was excited as I stood from my seat and walked out the door. But almost as soon as I took another step, I slipped and fell on the ground. Are you okay, Mr. Walsh? Jake asked. Yeah, I'm fine. I pulled myself from his saving arms, embarrassed and awkward that I wished I could just enter the ground. I'm so sorry, sir. It's not your fault. You were doing your job, I said. I just wanted to tell you a good job. Oh, thanks. I'll be leaving now. Let me go get my stuff and leave. I didn't wait for him to reply before I went back into my office. Once again, I stepped out of my office. I was more careful than the other time, but I almost slipped again. Thank goodness I got my balance before it could happen again. I could feel Jake's guilty eyes on me as I walked with legs apart my wet pants, like a penguin on ice. The next day, I was in my office drinking coffee when I heard a knock on my door. Who is it? It's Jake, sir. I paused drinking and suddenly remembered what happened the previous day. The pants I wore now felt as wet as they had when I fell. You can imagine how it would be for a person of authority like me to slip like that. I am a very cautious person, but that moment reminded me that I wasn't perfect. What does he want, by the way? I asked myself. Come in, I said. I immediately posed myself as the man of authority that I was. Then I saw his head pop in shyly before bringing me his whole body into the room. I maintained a straight face. Good morning, Mr. Walsh, he said. Morning. I wanted to apologize for what happened yesterday. Wanted to see if you were okay. Oh my God, Jake, I'm good. I only slipped and fell like every human does once in a while. It's not your fault, I said. I'm very good, Jake, thank you. I'm just glad it didn't go south. I'm glad too, I guess. Yeah, he said. Then there was a silence for a short while before he spoke. I'm just gonna head back to work. All right. Then I remembered why I fell as I watched him go toward the door, but I was reluctant to let him know. Yet at the same time, I wanted to tell him. By the way, I forgot to mention it yesterday, I said. The actual reason I fell was because I rushed out when I heard you whistling to my favorite song. Wait, really? Yeah. Wow. I saw the glee on his face. I heard the song somewhere. I can't remember where. All I know is I fell in love with it immediately when I heard it. Yeah, John Echo makes beautiful music. That's why he's my favorite artist, I said. Oh, wow. That's really cool. That happens to be the only song I know from him. Well, you're in luck, I said. Because I'm gonna introduce you to his discography, and you're gonna see why he's the shit. Immediately after I said those words, I realized I made a mistake. He mumbled, and there was a slight smile. I'm sorry for the language, I got carried away. Your secret is safe with me, Principal Walsh, he said with a grin. Thanks, I said. You know what? I realize I've got work to do. Oh, I just remembered. I've got something I'm supposed to be doing. I'm gonna head back, he said. See you later, sir. Yeah. Then he left. A smile stayed on my face. You know that satisfaction when you bring a convert to something you love? To be honest, I didn't have friends in the school, perhaps because everyone sees me as a hard man and because I always have a straight face. How would anyone take me seriously if I didn't? Yet, I was lonely and needed a friend. That was the first time I'd spoken about something that wasn't work-related with any of the staff. That was the real reason for my smile, that I made a friend. I sat in my office, bored, arranging one thing or the other every few minutes because there was nothing to do. Should I go and meet Jake or not? I thought. After a minute, I stood and left the office to go meet Jake. I walked into the maintenance room, where he was always staying most of the time. He was eating. I felt like I had come at the wrong time and was about to leave when he caught me. Mr. Walsh? Oh, sorry. I just came to, see you, but it seems I came at the wrong time, I said. No, he said. I'm almost done. You can come in. You sure? Yeah, he said. He then searched for a seat and placed it near him. Then he offered me the seat. Thank you, I said, as I sat and looked around. The whole place was neat and well arranged. You know, it's been a while since I've been in this place. I love what you've done with this place. Yeah? Looks like a man cave. The former janitor was never neat. Just made this place look like an eyesore. Oh, was he fired or did he resign? He was fired, I said. Caught with smoking pot. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yeah. Then we kept mute. I could hear the sound of his food grinding in his mouth before he swallowed. My eyes drew to the tattoo on his arm that was usually concealed by his uniform. From his arm, my eye traced his form. He was muscular and fit, with well-trimmed beards on a handsome face. What are you doing, Nate? I asked myself. You said you wanted to introduce me to John Echo's music. His voice suddenly brought me out of my daydream. Yeah, I muttered, as though I just gained consciousness. It seemed I forgot what I wanted to do for a minute before I reached into my pocket for my phone. I played a song for him. At first, his head began to vibe to the music. Then, he made a stank face when the music touched his soul. From there, he started whooping. I just couldn't stop smiling. Oh my God, he exclaimed after the music finished. You were right. He really is the shit. No foul language allowed, but I'll permit this one, I said. He really is the shit. Could you play me another one? When he asked me that question, I knew he was really into the music of John Echo. He didn't even wait for me to suggest playing another one for him. Sure, I replied. I played him another song. That time he was dancing and whooping. Shh, quiet. Oh, sorry, he said. The music is just so good. I understand, Jake. Trust me, it hits better when you're having your bath or cleaning. Seems you already know that, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, that's why you slipped, he said. My face crumpled into a frown. He immediately realized what he had done. I'm sorry, Mr. Walsh. I didn't mean that. Suddenly, I burst into laughter. He still looked obviously confused about what was going on. You really need to see your face right now, I said in between laughter. His face soon eased into a smile and gradually into a laughter. I thought I crossed the line. Nah, we're friends, aren't we? Yeah, he replied with a bemused smile. Glad to be your friend, Mr. Walsh. Call me Nathan, or call me Nate, however you want it. Or Nate the Great, he said. What if I told you that happens to be my nickname? Really? Wow, he said. I know the name as the gamer tag of one dude I play with on Call of Duty. Wait a freaking minute, I said. This is a wild guess. Are you row 247? Oh my god. You're Nate the Great. You are Nate? He exclaimed excitedly. What the hell? I can't freaking believe it. I replied. I was happy and at the same time shocked. It was mind-blowing. Who could have thought that two men who play matches online are actually work colleagues in real life? Before I knew it, Jake jumped on me and hugged me. Principal Walsh is Nate the Great? What are the odds? Jake said. This is like a dream for real. It's crazy. Shh, we're in school. Don't want to bring attention to us, I said. I wish I could scream more than this though, but this is a school and I am the principal. Right. I'll keep my voice down. Thanks. This is really cool and crazy, he said. Still principal in the day, menace at night on COD. I'm like Batman, I said, and he replied with a loud laughter. I didn't know when I joined him. Shh, I said immediately. I regained myself. We're getting really loud. Sorry, Principal Walsh, he said and chuckled. Shut up, I replied, laughing. Eventually, the laughter subsided. Gotta go back to my day duty, Jake chuckled. Gonna be up tonight for a match? He asked. Sure. Want to get revenge for that last headshot I gave you, huh? Something like that, he said with a smile. Well, get ready to get another one. Don't count your eggs before they hatch, Nate, he said. I might surprise you tonight. Over my dead body, I said. Looks like I'll be walking all over that. Oh, is that a threat? Yeah, we shall see, I said as I walked out the door, smiling at him. The smile still remained plastered on my face as I walked toward my office. A student was walking in my direction, and I could see the confused look on his face. He was so confused, he had to stop and look to know if what he was seeing was real. You're not dreaming, kid, I thought as I walked past him. A week later, Jake and I became close friends. Since that day in the maintenance room, it was like we've been friends for years. It was a really good thing to have someone you could speak to in office. You know, it's nice to have someone to speak to in the school, I said to Jake one day. The only thing people say to me in this place is work stuff. It's like they're scared of me. Well, for starters, you probably should learn to smile more, Jake replied. Why? I'm just gonna start smiling for no reason like I'm high? No, just don't have a straight face like you're a soldier, he said. But you know it comes with the job. No one will take me seriously if I don't have such a face. It's how I maintain discipline. You can maintain discipline without a hard face. Everyone just needs to know you can be jovial and be different at times. You just gotta balance them. They say it takes less muscle to smile, but I say it takes fewer muscles to have a straight face. It's that straight face that makes everyone think you're unfriendly. To be honest, I'm still pretty amazed that we're friends, he said. A week ago, I called you by your surname, always out of respect, and barely looked you in the eye, not until you showed me that you're a cool person. Oh. All that niceness is hiding behind all that stoic face and stiffness. At least, let them know you're cool. Maybe I'll take your advice, I said. For all the days of the following weeks, I tried hard to practice what Jake told me, to smile more. It was hard trying to do a face to get people to like me. I wasn't used to it. The first week was quite hard. The students were always weirdly looking at me, talking about me in the hallway. The teachers and other members of the staff were also doing the same. It felt like hunger pangs when it all happened. When I told Jake, he said, "It doesn't work overnight like that. You've been Principal Walsh for a long time. It would take a while for people to accept Nate the Great." I thought it's going to be emerging on both sides. Okay, let's make it Mr. Nate. You are going to get people to eventually like Mr. Nate. Before the end of the second week, I began to see little changes. For instance, I used to greet everyone good morning with a straight face, but I had to change that with the new character, Mr. Nate. With Mr. Nate, I greeted a teacher called Miss Clara, and she replied with a smile. The next day, she told me I looked radiant. I told ya, Jake said with a smile after I told him. Why does it feel so good? You sound like a villain doing it for the first time. He laughed after I spoke. Really funny, I said sarcastically. You're welcome. He bowed. I didn't say thank you. Wait till it works completely. Oh, you ungrateful soul, he said. There's something in your hair. Where? I asked. Before I could reach to my hair, he got his fingers on my hair and roamed in it. For no reason, I felt goosebumps all over my body. I stared at him, somewhat lost and in awe of his handsomeness that I just realized every time I laid my eyes on him. What the hell is going on with you, Nate? He brought his hand to my view and showed me the specks of lint he had caught from my hair. His eyes now settled on my face. It was now the two of us, staring at each other. Your eyes look predatory, Jake said. What do you mean? I said, chuckling. You've got amber eyes. Looks like the eyes of a lion. What does it mean for me? Or you? Perhaps you're gonna devour me one day. So you're the prey? I asked. I guess so. Wait, what are we really talking about? Predator and prey? What's the context? I asked. I don't know. Tell me what's in your mind, Nate. What are you thinking? He asked. You know what? It's time to go home. I just remembered. I've got something I want to do, I said as I stood. Come on, let's go. All right, let me pack. I'll be with you in a minute. All right, I said and walked away. There had been something bothering me for a while since the night before. I had a dream. A wet dream, if that's what you would call it. Jake was there. I remember how ashamed I felt when I found myself wet because I'd seen Jake, hot, naked, and oiled. Even if I could lie to myself about my growing feelings for Jake, the wet dream actually reflected my subconscious desires. I really did like Jake, but I wondered if he had the same for me. Predatory eyes? I asked myself. It was 10 o'clock p.m., and I couldn't sleep because of my thoughts. Was this his way of telling me I have beautiful eyes? There was this new way my heart beat when I was around Jake. It was always like I could now notice that I had a heart beating in my chest. I kept telling myself that it was that feeling that was just my brain expanding my thoughts. There are just thoughts, Nate, I said to myself. Did you forget that you are the principal? What are you thinking? You and the janitor? But each time these thoughts came, they always vanished whenever I saw Jake. And then I would be back to drooling, head over heels, and over the moon, or something like that. I was having one of those thoughts when Jake interrupted my thoughts with a question. Yo, you like soccer? Hell yeah. How the hell do we like the same things every time? For real, it's crazy. If you told me like anime, I'm gonna collapse, he said. I think I'm gonna have to call 911, cause I do, I replied. While I cackled, I laughed even more when he placed himself on the ground and faked unconsciousness for some seconds before he stood. What? This is crazy, he said. Yeah. Wanna watch the game at my house? I've got beer, popcorn, and chips. I knew he was inviting me to come and watch a match at his house. It was just a kind of gesture, but it was a temptation for me. Who's the predator now? Sure. Alright, after school closes, we're gonna head out there. Okay, can't wait. Yeah, who are you supporting? Inter Miami. Ooh, he exclaimed. He looked disappointed. What? That's the only thing we don't agree about. Oh my god, how dare you choose Columbus over us? We're gonna know that tonight. Yeah, prepare to cry me a river, I replied. Then he laughed and left me. Every weekend, I was always at Jake's place to watch soccer. It was always chill beer in one hand and chips in the other. We always sat on his couch with our hairy legs touching each other like there was no space in the chair. I always had my hands around my crotch area to stop my erection. It was really hard controlling it, but Jake's hotness wasn't helping. I was in the house like always for a game. My chill beer had gone lukewarm because my hands were on my crotch for the first half of the game. Yes! He suddenly exclaimed and rose to his feet with his fist in the air. He danced a little while I stared, amused as a child. All right, you can sit down now, I said. Man, what an insane goal. Did you see how he curved that shot? Yeah, not gonna lie, dude's got serious skills. So real, he said and took a sip of beer. Speaking of, did you see that interview with him? Everyone's talking about his dating life. Apparently he's single now. Yeah, he said. How I wish he could notice me. What? Yeah, don't you see how freaking hot he is? Really hot, man. Really? Didn't know you were into guys. Well, now you know, he said and sipped. His focus was on the TV again. Cool. The smile I had was only one I could see. The glee that I was kinda on the right track. I could make my move any time. I was now staring at him. I was wishing I could pull his face to me so I could ambush him with a kiss. I quickly turned to face the TV before he turned in my direction. He was trying to dip into his bag of chips, but somehow his eyes wandered to my face. I could see him from a peripheral vision, but I pretended like I was enjoying the game. His eyes were there for a while before he returned them to the game. It had always been like that since I'd been coming to his house, but no happy ending. About some minutes to end of the game, I could feel his eyes gaze on my face. Like, in his words, he had a predatory gaze on me. It was getting longer that I had turned to look at him. Why are you staring at me like that? I asked and chuckled. Your amber eyes look, less predatory in the light, he said. Yeah. Speaking of predatory, I was speaking when I saw his face suddenly jam into mine. With his lips touching mine, our eyes were closed while breathing each other's faces for a minute before he pulled away for me to look into his eyes. He was searching for answers to know whether I liked it, but he couldn't find it because I was speechless and my eyes were wavering on his face. I was in awe. I stammered. I was beyond shocked. It was what I'd always wanted, but I was shocked beyond words. I'm sorry. I think I just went ahead of my... No. It's just that I just couldn't find the right words. My brain was in a scrambled state. I think I want, You want to go home? Yeah, I want to go home. Oh. I slowly stood to my feet and started to walk towards the door, slower than usual. You could feel the awkwardness in that room. Jake was acting awkward. He would normally follow me outside to my car. He didn't stand up until he saw me open the door. Bye. Yeah, bye. See you tomorrow, he said. He was scratching his head in an embarrassed way. Yeah. I walked on and heard the door close behind me. As I drove home, it was that kiss that was on my mind. I didn't expect it. It was what I always wanted, but it was so sudden. In a snap of the fingers, our lips touched. How did it feel, you might ask? It was like watching fireworks on New Year's Eve. It was like strawberry bursting on your taste buds after the bite. But I froze. I didn't know why, but I did. I was so happy that I was sad that I didn't kiss him back right on the spot. You're so stupid. I couldn't stop thinking about the kiss. It kept replaying in my head, and there was a smile on my face each time. It was already half of the day, and I hadn't spoken one word to Jake. Neither of us wanted to be the first to talk about what happened the previous day. It was like a game, but I was losing. I didn't like how he didn't speak to me. I had to swallow my ego. As I walked into the room, we bumped into each other. Then the awkwardness settled on the room again. "Hi," I said. "Hi, I was about to come meet you. I wanted to apologize for what happened yesterday." No, don't apologize," I said. "I wanted it." "Huh?" "Yeah, I wanted it. I don't know why I froze yesterday when you kissed me, but I was thinking about it all night till this moment, Jake. I thought I made a mistake." "No, you didn't," I said as I inched closer to him. What other words could I put it that is a different form? I have feelings for you, Nate. "Jake," I chuckled. "I feel the same way." I watched his face spread into a wide smile. "I want us to have that kiss again. We could do it here. Anyone could see us," I said. "We're just gonna close the door. Can't take such a risk. Let's do it where we had it yesterday. Your place." "All right," he said and winked at me. I replied to him with a smile and left him. We sat on the couch, waiting for who was going to make the first move. It was taking too long for me, so I made the move. I think he wanted to say something, but I stopped him when I pulled his face towards me while my face went onward towards his lips. We kissed and smooched our lips like they were some succulent fruit and didn't want any of the juice to escape. We were so in the moment that we didn't know when we started stripping till we were naked. You know what must have happened next. After a while, we laid on the bed, trying to catch our breaths. It was the most amazing night of my entire life. We were chuckling while we breathed through our mouths. "That was breathtaking," he asked. Yeah, I replied and laughed. Then, there was a very silent moment after that. Our breaths had become stable, and by that time, our right senses had returned. The longer I stared at the ceiling, the more I realized what we had done. Jake and I had sex. "What have you done, Nate? You had sex with the janitor." I felt shame. That shame made me stand and reach for my clothes. "Jake, we shouldn't have done this." "What? Why? You don't feel shame?" "Your first time having sex?" he asked. There was a silent moment before I replied, "Yes." "Oh. We shouldn't be doing this," I said. "We're staff members." "It doesn't matter. We're adults. The school policy doesn't allow it," I said as I dressed up. "This is the last time." Ugh. He groaned and stared at me as I dressed. He saw me walk out of the room. Never again, I thought to myself. Never doing this again. I kept saying those words till it happened again. I said the same delusional words till I couldn't get out of it. It started as a fling, till we wanted more. Soon, we got into a relationship. You could guess how freaking happy I was being with Jake. Sometimes, I thought about how we became lovers. It was crazy to think that it all happened from the time I slipped and fell. From there, we became friends to lovers. One word for Jake: bliss. I think I saw it coming. I saw it coming that we'd be caught sometimes. I like to think that the relationship was going to go hitch-free. Yet some stupid situation raised its ugly head. One day, I came to school with the new regular smile that Jake had told me to always put on. Everyone was staring at me in some way. There was no way it could be about my new demeanor because they got used to it. Their eyes were poking me and judging. It was like I did something wrong, but I didn't know what it was. Even the other staff had that same stare when they saw me. Everywhere I went, I felt their judging eyes on my head, like a sniper rifle beam. I had to run to the only person that I knew when I had the same look, my lover, Jake. Is it me, or is everyone acting weird today? Thank goodness, Jake said. I thought I was going mad. They've been staring at me weirdly all day. I just had to hide. What the hell is going on? I don't know, for real, he said. Even the staff are acting that way. Exactly, what the hell? Seems they know about us. What do you mean? It seems they know about our relationship. No, I said. It's not possible. What makes you say that? Because we've been really careful about it. Then what's going on? He asked worriedly. I don't know, I said. But I'm gonna find out, somehow. I went to meet Miss Clara, because she had been so sweet to me since I started smiling. When I got to her, she had the same but slightly different look. Miss Clara. Yeah? I can't help but notice that everyone has been staring at me weirdly. I caught you staring that way too. What is really going on? She muttered inside. You were caught. Caught? Caught doing what? You and the janitor were caught kissing at the mall by one of the students, she said. What? I never knew you were into guys. Here I was thinking you were gonna ask me out or something, she said. Miss Clara was in her mid-40s. She had just gotten divorced and probably wanted to get back in the dating pool. She mistook all that gesture for me making a move. I couldn't even reply to her statement because I just started feeling hell inside me. My heart and head began to pound. Oh, what the hell? What have you done, Nate? You're in so much trouble. You could have stopped. Now you're in trouble. By the next day, the situation had gotten worse. I walked into the hallway and saw students clustered around a locker. They were looking at something and giggling, and didn't notice I was behind them until I spoke. Immediately, they noticed me. They dispersed. I could now see what they were saying. There was a paper with some doodling on it. It was a doodling of two people having sex. It was labeled with my name and Jake's. I frowned as I stared at it. The anger was rising in me that I had to pull the paper from where it was pasted, but I realized it was glued with chewing gum. Who did this? I yelled. Who? It was at that moment I wished I hadn't gone soft. My voice sounded weak to them. They all just stared at me, snickering. I felt embarrassed, and I couldn't stand the way they looked at me. Even though I had an angry face, I had to walk away. It was only a matter of time before the news reached the board of the school. They sent for Jake and I. I remember the dejected look on his face. I could tell he was scared of what might happen. He cowered behind me as we walked into the room of 5 straight faces staring at us. My eyes went to the one in the middle. He was the chairman and had the most disapproving look. The silence was heavy, and the air was freezing, even though I wore a 3-piece suit. Jake stared down at his feet. You know why you're here, don't you? The chairman asked. Yes, we both replied. You realize you broke the school policy? Yes, Jake said. Technically, no, I said. Huh? The chairman muttered, and the rest murmured. Yes, our relationship was against the school policy, but everything we did was outside of school. We were staff members during school time, but lovers after school. That's all semantics, Mr. Walsh. You broke the school policy. Nothing more, nothing less. The chairman replied. The policy clearly states no office relationship. You're supposed to be the one enforcing order, but you're the one breaking it. But sir, there's nothing more to say about this, Mr. Walsh. We're going to call you back when we made our decision. You can leave." We reluctantly walked out of the room. I tried to speak to Jake, but I didn't like the way he looked. We both enjoyed the moment, but we were now facing the consequences. "Jake," I called him. "Yeah? I'm sorry we're in this mess." "It's fine. It's not your fault. It was bound to happen," he said. "It's either they're gonna fire us, or they're gonna break us up. Which would you prefer?" "I don't prefer either. I don't want to lose my job. And I also don't want to lose you," he said. "How about you?" "I think I want to resign." "Resign?" "They are likely going to retain us because, not to brag, I have been valuable to the school. Even if the chairman might not agree, there are others on the board." "They can find another person," he said, "but not like me. That's why I've been here for so long." He sighed. "Please don't resign. You can't do that." "Where are you going to find another job?" "Where am I going to find another love? Just don't." "I'm going to do it," I said. We were called upon once again in front of the board. The chairman still had that look on his face. I could already read from his face that the decision that they had made was never going to favor us. "I'd like to tell the board something before we start," I said. I felt Jake tugging me, but I ignored it. "Let's hear it." "Don't," Jake whispered. "I want to tender my resignation." "What?" "Resignation? You didn't even hear what our decision was first," the chairman said. "We were going to retain both of you." "But you're going to have us apart, isn't it?" "Yes, that's the policy. Isn't that merciful for your gross misconduct?" the chairman said. "Gross misconduct? You know, this whole fella..." He paused, and I frowned. "Sorry, I meant this whole fiasco wouldn't have happened if you didn't break the policy. That's why I'm ready to do what would make us both happy." "Mr. Walsh, I think you should calm down and think about this a little bit," a board member said. "I've thought about it." "What of Mr. Downs? Does he agree to this?" the chairman asked. I didn't turn to him so his decision wouldn't be influenced by me. "Yes," he said reluctantly. "Oh my goodness, this is a bad idea," one of the board members said. "We tried to be reasonable with you guys. Why can't you be a little reasonable with us?" the chairman asked. "You aren't thinking of how traumatizing it must have been for the students who saw you." "Traumatizing?" "I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I think you're stepping out of line," another board member said. "We were kissing. Don't you kiss in front of your kids, or are you just a homophobic scum? You call a show of love traumatizing?" "Look, I'm sorry. It's too late, Mr. Chairman. You had 2 strikes. I never give 3. You've exhausted both. You just couldn't hide your homophobia," I said. "I didn't think I said anything homophobic." "What did you mean by the F word you used earlier?" Jake yelled. "That definitely wasn't a slip of the tongue, no matter what you say." I felt proud to have Jake by my side. I could feel my courage swelling. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it," the chairman said. "What do you want us to do? Tell us," another member of the board said. "Retain us. Don't keep us apart. Change the policy because love shows no policy," I said. "And remove this homophobic man. You wouldn't want your school to be known as a homophobic school, would you?" There was a grave silence after I spoke. The way the chairman stared at us, it looked like he wanted to crush us in his hands. "We can't give you all that you want, Mr. Walsh," the chairman said. "No, we will discuss it first," a board member said. "You can go. We will call you back." "What are you doing?" the chairman muttered. "All right," I said. Then Jake and I left the room with a smile on our face and hope in our hearts. In the end, the board did as we requested. But as for the policy, they said they would see what they would have to do about it. But they told us to continue with our relationship and not to interfere with our work. As for the homophobic chairman, he was not just removed, he was told to make an official apology to us. How great and beautiful to see that everything worked out in the end. Jake and I got to retain our jobs and our love. They still always stare at us like they're waiting for our relationship to hit the rock, but we don't care. Looks like they're gonna grow old and toothless doing that. The end. Have you ever been in love with someone at work? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.